You weren't in shape on stage because you didn't have a pre-prep phase. Today, I want to dive into what is the pre-prep phase. You're probably thinking, man, John, I'm going to prep long enough. Why do I need a prep before a prep? And this is really a transition period from the off season to contest prep to make a seamless transition to where right off the gate on prep, you are productive. Because what I find so many times in prep is right when you start someone, you pull down calories, put a little bit of cardio in, it takes a while for things to get moving. And a lot of this might be several factors, but usually it could be, for one, an athlete hasn't been as locked in as they were once they do enter prep. And if some of those lifestyle routine strategies take a little bit of time to really lock in place. So we need an athlete to start tracking food more accurately if they've been flexible. We also need them to be getting their sleep times right, going to bed, waking the same time, make sure their meal timing is the same, trying to train at the same time, getting all these things so consistent that on a week-to-week basis, you're accurately able to assess the athlete. Now, if we had a phase before this where we did all that, it would make prep a lot easier to transition into. So that's what we want, is no lost time basically in this process. And during this pre-prep phase is also be where, if they were going out with the family, eating out more, having that flexibility, maybe we start pulling that back so we have them transitioning into that greater accuracy of the meal plan as well. This phase isn't also just about getting them more locked in routine-wise. It's also a mindset change. It can be an excitement point from them too, if you've had a long off-season period, but it's mentally locking in like you're already in a prep and for what is to come. So you also don't have that lag time once you do kick them off into their contest prep. Another part of this phase is that it might be just another way to reward and label a longer prep for someone. We tell someone, hey, we're going to do, this 22-week prep. They're like, oh my gosh, 22 weeks. I've never prepped that long before. It's like, oh, but you also weren't in shape before. So instead of doing a 16-week prep, we could call it a 16-week prep, but before that, we're going to tack on 6 weeks of this pre-prep phase. So in their mind, it's structured a little bit different. But for everyone can't prep in 16 or 20 weeks, we might have more fat we need to pull off of certain people. And that's just the way it is. Someone might be more productive at a higher body fat set point than another athlete, but we actually need to diet them down just a little bit longer than the other person. So we can do that in a pre-prep phase. We move them in, we go into like a little bit more of an aggressive fat loss phase, pull off some body fat, and then we can maintain them the rest of that phase, then start a prep. And why we'd want to maintain them at the end is just to make sure we drop off any fatigue, and we're not just nonstop accumulating fatigue into a prep, which is only going to be a nonstop, again, accumulation of greater fatigue. During this phase too, we might see training volume move down as we're moving someone more into a maintenance phase. We also want training to be at maintenance. Because we also don't want is if you've been in an off season where you're getting stronger and load and reps and everything's progressing and volume's progressing, and you might get a little beat up at the end of that, to then move that straight into a prep, or also you're now going to be training at a higher volume level, but the recovery variables are going down. You might just continue to get beat up. So we might need a phase in here where we can transition, have some recovery, soft tissue, connective tissue, etc., occur to be able to withstand the duration of that contest prep that is ahead. Some people might bring up in a pre-prep phase to actually cement the gains, like you want to hold your peak body weight for a period of time before just dieting away, and that might be the first tissue to fall off. I don't necessarily buy into that as much. There maybe that to a degree, but I think it also is also just trying to make sure someone is locked in enough in that phase to where they have the tools needed to maintain that new tissue going into a fat loss phase. So in off season, you have all the food present, you have recoveries improved to where it is easier to grow. But then once you bring them in a fat loss phase, if they don't have all that, the sleep quality completely locked in or the diet completely locked in, they might be more susceptible to tissue loss in that state. So that's why the pre-prep phase can really shine. So it does a few things here, right? It can help you retain tissue, can help get some early fat loss occur if you need it, can help restore health markers if you need it, heal up connective tissue if that's a need. And what I keep bringing up is this need. Why do you keep saying that, John? It's because the pre-prep phase is needs-based. So you're going to assess your athlete when you're coming close to the end of that offseason and see what they need for their pre-prep phase and how you would structure it and how long you would need to be for. And what I like to do is when I'm coaching someone in the offseason, I'm always looking at that show date that should be coming up, however far along way it is, to I don't let someone get so far gone with body fat or whatever other variable it may be to I don't get them to have a pre-prep phase. So if I'm coming in the offseason, we're pushing up and I'm saying, all right, this guy's looking like he might need a 22-week prep right now. We might need to plan a 6-week pre-prep phase to where then he's able to diet within that timeline structure. So always look at your timeline, not just on a week-to-week basis when you're coaching someone, but over that long haul to that next show. So you can always put in this pre-prep phase. And if you do it, your athletes will have better preps and be able to get to that stage lean condition.